are back. It's Jimmy and Steve right here. This sort of cool show. We are so pumped. I feel like I
Yes.
said it but we are.
That's all right, because we are.
It's like everything we talk about right now. I'm just so excited about. You know,
Steve
we
doesn't sleep.
we do not sleep. No sleep till
Night
Brooklyn.
before show, Steve don't
till
sleep.
Brooklyn. We did a show previously where we put two records from two massive bands together, which was Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet versus Def Leppard's Hysteria. You know,
Yes.
that we called that the Ollie Frazier, right?
That's
it was
right.
just like, oh my gosh, what a massive thing.
Yes.
We did the same. We're doing the same thing tonight, man.
This is Ric Flair versus Greg Valentine way back in the day.
No, dude, this is Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes.
That's
Come
right.
on, the American
Dream.
Dude, this one tonight, man. This is special, actually. You know, this is
It's a little different because
it's two records from the same band.
that's right.
It is
That's
the end of one singer's era, the beginning of another singer's era. This is AC/DC Highway to Hell versus AC/DC Back in Black.
Just saying that.
I don't even.
Just saying that's like, it's just crazy, man. You can put those two. You can put them against each other.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, man, they're both such massive records. You know.
Well, from a success standpoint, you know,
Yes.
they were both very successful. Highway to Hell was the second most successful album that they put out, and Back in Black was the number one most successful album they put out. Now, there is a huge disparity between the two as far as sales are concerned.
Right.
Highway to Hell, you know, from the RIAA, they report that album has sold 7 million copies in the U.S.
Okay.
And Back in
Not a
Black,
bad day.
not a bad day at all. Back in Black from the RIAA is certified 25 times platinum, 25 million records in the U.S. alone. And then
That's crazy.
it's
man.
estimated that Back in Black has sold 50 million albums worldwide. It's one of the, my understanding it's the number 2 or number 3 best-selling album ever. And you know,
And number one is what? Do you know?
I would say either Thriller or Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's insane.
I knew Eagles' Greatest Hits sold a ridiculous amount, but I didn't realize it might be up there like that.
Tens of millions. And you know, the thing about when you think about Back in Black as an album, and you're going, you know, that record, like I said, sold 25 million in the U.S., and you're like, okay, what is there? How many people in the U.S. were there in, you know,
Right.
1995, for
Does that
example?
mean everybody in
This
the
record came out in
country has to
1980. But if 25 million people had it, you know, that's like what, 7-8% of the
Yes.
population?
Isn't that crazy?
Are you kidding me? Like
Yes.
that is so crazy to think about.
It's almost like people that didn't even like or want the record. They had to
They
get
just
it
bought it because their friends bought it. It was just a cool thing to do.
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know, man.
Got to get that record.
But
Don't know who they are,
it's a
but
fantastic album. Let's actually go back. Let's go back to the previous album though.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Highway to Hell for a minute.
yeah, man.
You know, like we said, that
Yes.
album has sold 7 million according to the RIAA, and this was the final album from Bon Scott as the lead
Right.
singer. This was the
Right.
6th album from AC/DC.
Right. Really. Yeah, that's right. That's
This
right. It
the
was.
this was the 6th album from them, and it was probably their first big commercial success. Like this was the record that put them on the map.
And
that
all
made
ones before it,
charts.
Power Age, Dirty Deeds, all those records were so
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah, good, very good records.
TNT and all those. And I remember the first time I saw this record. You know, I'd heard the name AC/DC, and when this record came out, Steve, I was a junior in high school.
Okay, 1979, July 79. I was
You were not even
I was
born.
almost 4.
Oh Lord.
I was
So,
4 in December.
You're turning 4 and I'm going to baseball practice.
That's right.
In high school. But I remember a guy walking across the parking lot, going to his car, and he had this record in his hand. And I remember going, what is that record? And he had it, and I asked him, he says, AC/DC Highway to Hell. And, you know, for a young guy, a young church boy as I was in '79, I thought that's a bad thing to be carrying around until I listened to it. And I was
Yeah.
like, heck yeah. But, I remember that, and I didn't have it then. I heard it from him. But when the first song cranked up, when that first guitar came on Highway to Hell, I thought, my gosh, man, this is crazy. And I love everything about this record. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I saw the album cover for the first time at my cousin's house. So my mom used to work third shift, and she would drop me off at my aunt's house, and my cousins. I had two. There were two older cousins. I mean, oh my gosh, dude, I have such a massive family.
Right.
These are two of my cousins, not the only two, but just
Right.
two of them. I have dozens
Steve's
of
from
them.
an Italian family, everybody.
Well, this is not even the Italian side. The Italian side is actually a little bit smaller. But if so I'm over there, and I remember, in the room that I was sleeping in, that's where they kept their stereo and their albums. And I remember this AC/DC album just kind of always sitting there and just staring at me. And, I was young, man. I was 4, 5, 6 years old, whatever it was, when I saw this, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit because it's, I wasn't reading at the time, so I didn't know that it said Highway to Hell. But what I was looking at was a dude with horns coming out of his head holding a devil tail.
Holding his
what I mean?
tail, right. And then
And
Bond behind him laughing at him.
Bond is smiling and having a good time, but everybody else looks pissed off, man.
They do.
Like, just pissed.
Right.
I mean, Angus
Right.
doesn't necessarily look pissed off, but I mean,
Yeah.
it used to kind of freak me out. As a little kid, I was like,
Yes.
what in the world is this? So it was years later before I actually heard the album.
Okay.
But man,
Okay.
like, when you listen to this thing, and the interesting thing about it is, they, like I said, this is their 6th album, and it came out in 1979, July 27th, 1979. So they're a 70s band.
Right. Right
This
on.
is not a 70s record. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like a 70s band. This
no,
is
it
not.
it doesn't
you know?
sound like anything that was out in the '70s when I
No.
was in nothing.
No, and this is the first album of AC/DC's that Mutt Lange produced. Mutt went on to produce 2 other albums from AC/DC, including Back in Black, which we'll talk about in a minute. But he also produced the record after Back in Black, which was For Those About to Rock.
Wow.
Which again, one of my favorite albums.
Yeah.
But this one, you mentioned you just love every song on it.
I do. I absolutely love every
and
song.
I agree, man. There's just not a bad song. Do you have a favorite on this album?
Oh God, yeah. It's the first song, second song, third song, fourth song. No,
No, really.
Actually, my favorite song on here is "Get It Hot."
Okay,
No doubt.
So-
Well, it's between "Shot Down in Flames" and "Get It Hot," but yeah, "Get It Hot's" my favorite song.
yeah, I would say "Shot Down in Flames" is my favorite song, but "Night Prowler" is a close second.
Oh man, that song.
I
And
love
here's
that
the thing
song.
about me. I'm one of these guys also too who, and it's been like this my whole life. For some reason, I never get to the last song in a lot of records.
Mhm.
It's not that sometimes it's just time, or sometimes it's whatever. And I've missed a lot of great songs because I never get to. And so the first time I ever listened to Night Prowler, and I tell you, and I kid you not, was 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, what in the crap have I been doing for the last, yeah, I agree, man. Night
40
Prowler's
40
great.
years after it was recorded, you finally listened to it.
Yes, man, I finally did. But oh my gosh, yeah. But there's not one song on this record that I will now turn off or flip to the next one. Not one.
What's crazy is the first 5 albums was produced by George Young, Angus and Malcolm's brother.
Brother, right?
And Atlantic convinced them to use someone else.
Okay.
They, from what I read, they were not very happy at first.
Mm.
And, and again, this
We're keeping it in the family.
Yeah. At the time, this was their most successful album.
Right.
The first album that their brother didn't produce, and then it explodes.
Right.
And then then the next record is Back in Black, and it did multiple times bigger than this one did.
Sure.
And then, the third record was also highly successful. Not as successful, not even nearly as successful as Back in Black, but it was still an enormous success. And then the guys decided, hey, we want to go back to our roots and get away from this slick production and all that. And then honestly, they really haven't had a hit since.
And you know what though? Does it matter?
Well, I mean, I take that back. They had Thunderstruck, which was a big song for them.
And they also
had Who Made Who.
Who Made Who, but they also had Rock and Roll Train a few years back. It wasn't a big hit at all.
I think what I'm looking at though is the successful, like, just from a record standpoint. Yeah, they did have a couple songs here and there.
Yeah,
but from a record standpoint, they didn't have anything as successful.
No. Because if I'm not mistaken, Thunderstruck, was that not from a record? I mean, was that not from a movie, like one of the Freddie, the Elm Street movies or something?
But it was on their album.
Okay.
Was it Heat Seeker? Was that the name of that record?
Heat Seeker.
Does that sound right?
It might have been, yeah. I don't want to say it was, but I can
what's it on, like Stiff Upper Lip or something like that? I don't know.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, it was a successful song. Remember that, that video was, the beginning of it, you could see that it's like the camera was on the drumstick and it was like hitting the hi-hat. It was
That's right. That is it. Exactly what that was.
But speaking of videos, Highway to Hell, have you seen any of the music videos from this album?
Are they mostly live?
Yeah. They're imitated live, right? I mean, it wasn't really a live show. It was like filmed at a live. They made it look live.
Mm-hmm.
Bon Scott looks so uncomfortable and so weird in a video. It's terrible. I showed my son a video. I think it was Highway to Hell, and it was like he was like, "What is this?" It's the weirdest. It was the weirdest looking thing, man. And Bon just like, it's like he barely moves his mouth, and like he's just like he's wailing on tape, and then he just barely moving his mouth, and he's looking real weird and smiley all the case. It's so creepy. It's just a terrible, terrible video, man.
Yeah. I now, when they got to the next record, the videos that came out were, they were awesome. But I love the record, man. I mean, I'm gonna tell you good gracious, man. I'm sitting here looking at it right now. I love Girls Got Rhythm too. Touch Too Much.
Walk All Over You,
man. If You Want Blood, God, If You Want Blood, that's what I mean. Everything on this record is just good. I'm sitting here looking at it, trying to go. I'm honestly trying to think. Okay, I'm gonna pick a song out of here that I just don't like I can't.
No, you can definitely listen to this record from top to bottom and not skip a song and be very, very happy with it.
That's right.
There's 10 songs. There's 10 songs. It's not like, it's not a huge time commitment. So I think being able to take this album, no fillers at all, man. This is a fantastic record front to back. And to think that it's this good, it's so good. I mean, 10 really good songs, and it was such a successful album. And then, this record, like I said, this record came out in July of '79, and then Bon Scott unfortunately died February 19th, 1980, and he was in London.
Toured 7 months with the record, basically.
Yeah, he was in London, and there's a lot of controversy around what actually happened and who was there, and the official story is that he drank a whole lot and passed out and
threw up,
choked on his vomit,
right,
and died in the back seat of a car.
That's the official story.
There's a whole lot of other stories,
right?
Some that involve heroin, some that involve more than one person that was with him. They said that there could potentially have been multiple people with him.
Wow.
You got to think at the time he was one of the biggest rock stars in the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and he had every vice that he wanted. I mean, it was there for him, and there's no doubt. And but you don't know how we know what we hear, and the bottom line of it all is it's sad that he had to go.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Because I love honestly, for me personally, when I listen to AC/DC records, I go to the Bon Scott records.
Yeah.
Because Rock and Roll Damnation is my favorite AC/DC song catalog-wise. I love that song.
It's so good.
Man.
My son, my 10-year-old loves Big Balls.
When we were in high school and that record came out, we played that song.
Yes.
Because that's off TNT.
It's off
Dirty Deeds. Dirty Deeds. That's right. That's why Dirty Deeds.
Yeah.
But she's got big balls. We
That's
got the biggest balls of them all. That was the great. And we thought that was the coolest thing to say, man.
Well, it
Your
is kind of funny
10-year-old likes it
because there was a lot of kind of comedic lyric and stuff. The songs was a little, the songs were a little, cheeky, I guess, and then tongue in cheek, and then you go from that to Highway to Hell, which was a lot more serious of an album from a lyrical standpoint, and there wasn't a whole lot of joking around, and some of that I think had to come down to Angus and Malcolm, leading the way. I think every song on this record is credited to Angus, Malcolm, and Bon being writers, but I think Mutt probably had a whole lot to say on.
I would say so
on what really went on with this record, and quite frankly, which records actually made the cut, because that on this album they didn't just write 10 songs. They probably wrote.
They probably had 30 on there. Right. Songs. Exactly right.
And you want they could
how many albums? How many of the songs for that record ended up on the next one?
Well, that's what I was going to say, and so, so the record comes out in 79, Bon passes away 7 months later in 1980. And then Brian Johnson is introduced to the band by Mutt Lange.
Wow.
Mutt knew Brian. Brian played in a band called Geordie, and they had a couple kind of minor hits. They had one fairly big hit in the UK in 1973, and then in 1978 the band broke up. And there is a really cool story about Bon at one point going to Malcolm and saying, "Ah, man, you've got to see this guy. Like this dude's crazy, man. The way he sings, and he's like, rolling around the stage and he's screaming and all this stuff, whatever." And it was Brian Johnson. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting when you think about it, how Bon in some small way almost foreshadowed who was going to replace him at one point.
That's crazy.
It's so wild about that, man.
Yeah, I heard that story as well from Brian on an interview with Dan Rather, and that's crazy. Think about it like that.
Crazy. So you think about this: they've had the most successful album of their career. Their lead singer passes away 7 months after it releases. They get introduced to Brian Johnson through their producer Mutt Lange. Mm-hmm. Brian auditions. They audition a few other singers. They bring him back for a second audition. They hire him on the spot, officially make him a member of the band in April of 1980. They immediately fly him to the Bahamas to start recording the new record.
Yes. That's nuts, man.
April and May, they record a record in the Bahamas. And then in July, a year after Highway to Hell comes out, they release Back in Black.
That's just
I don't know, like you and I have made a lot of records in our day, like made albums in the studio, and you've been a part of albums on the production side as well, and writing and other things, and I have as well. It's not very common at all.
Not at all.
To record a record, even nowadays, man, like people will record a record and the record label's got to have 450,000 meetings, and then they got to plan budgets, and they got to set things up, and then they want to talk to this retail outlet or this streaming company or whatever, and they got to do all these things and set all this stuff up, and it's a 6-8 month process to set it up. Right. No, man, dude. They hire a singer, write a record, write the songs. Now, granted, a lot of the songs are probably already written by this time, and they make a record. They go into the studio in April. They finish it in May, and they put it out in July. That's
crazy. And I'll throw another
balls to the wall, man.
There. Yeah, and I'll throw another little kink in there too that I've just thought about. They had Bon Scott, and for 6 albums with Bon or whatever, and he's a very, very distinct voice.
Oh yeah.
So when you hear an AC/DC record or a song from one of those 6 records, that voice is so identifiable. You know who it is, right? Well, Brian Johnson comes in, and his voice is so different texture-wise and everything from Bon Scott, but yet they immediately hire him and it's almost like it's just bizarre to me that they wouldn't have gone, I mean, like Journey, like the guy, like Arnell right now. He's very much in the same vein as
He's a Steve
Perry,
Perry clone.
right?
He was in a Journey cover band, and he sounds just like Steve
Right.
Perry.
But
Not as
Brian
good,
Johnson
but
sounds
close.
nothing like Bon
Nothing.
Scott. So
But Brian
it,
Johnson's vocal is so distinctive and unique.
that's right. That's
You
exactly
know?
right. And you don't think how high he is singing until you ride down the car and you try to sing with him.
Yeah.
This dude
Yeah.
is up in the stratosphere, but it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that because of that growly thing he's got going on.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was really interesting how they went from Bond to him, two very distinct voices, very different,
Very
and
different.
kept the
Very
band
distinct.
going.
And the interesting thing about that too, as you mentioned, when you listen to AC/DC, the Bon Scott years, it's AC/DC. Now, partly because that guitar tone, that
Yes,
Gibson SG tone, and that 3-chord
that's
rock
right.
and roll, and there's no one,
Mm,
AC/DC is not a clone of anyone.
no,
AC/DC's sound is
that's right.
AC/DC. They
People have
kind
tried
of
to clone
created
them.
things. People have tried, but I don't think anyone's come close
No.
to doing it. It's very, very simple. Highway to
Oh,
Hell,
it is.
Back in Black, both of them. They're simple records.
They
These are
are.
simple songs. They're not difficult to play,
Mm-mm. But
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 they
you
are
can,
so good. They're
and
just
their drums are identifiable too to me.
drums are
Like just that
identifiable.
kick and snare and kick and
Kick
snare.
snare, 4/4 beat, man. It's like
Yes,
just not a lot to it. There's not a whole lot to these songs.
it is
And I'm
powerful.
telling you, man, people love this, man. They
Right.
just love it. It's easy to sing along to,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tap your foot, bob your head. I mean, somebody asked me, I've been jogging a lot lately,
Right.
trying to like,
I can tell.
trying to stay in shape,
Yeah.
trying to get in shape,
Right,
after
right.
years of neglect, and I'm trying to just like, I'm in my, man, I'd love to say early 40s, but crap, man, I'm going to be 45 this year, so I guess I'm officially in my mid 40s. But
Wow.
it's that time of my life where I'm trying to think about my health a
Sure.
little bit more. And somebody's like, hey man, what's some good music to run to?
Mm,
AC/DC.
that's right.
Dude,
I mean, really,
it's
it
just
is.
4/4 beat, man, just like bam, 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 and it's just like you could make a playlist and you can put any song on there, even their slower songs, because
That's
AC/DC
right.
doesn't have ballads.
No.
They don't write love songs, man. Like these are
No.
just driving, powerful songs, and they're
Mhm.
fun to listen to on a
They
run,
are.
man. Like, dude, I'm telling you, I today on my run actually, as we were preparing for this show, I listened to both of these albums front to back. I listened to Highway to Hell, and then I listened to Back in Black,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved every minute of it.
Yes.
These are
Every step.
these albums are both so good.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's appropriate to raise the hand of one of these albums in victory. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I
I don't
agree.
even know. It's just like, how do you? I mean, because today I could say one record, and then
Right.
next week I might say, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe
That's
this
right.
one I think is better for me.
I went to college. My freshman year is when this album was really, really kicking. It came out before that, but my freshman year in college is when this album was. Because I remember one of the fun things I was thinking about today and preparing too was I used to love a show called Night Tracks, which was a video show. There was another one called Friday Night Videos that came on, and they played. I mean, every seventh or eighth was either Shook Me All Night Long or those videos were awesome, and
Yeah.
I just remember I can still remember the videos, but my gosh, man, I mean, and these are the songs also that are played in sporting events. I mean, you're gonna
Oh,
hear freaking Shook Me All Night Long.
you can hear Back in Black too.
You're gonna hear both of those. And
Yeah.
here's what other thing I think is crazy. When you hear
Oh,
you know what's coming.
oh, you do.
You know what song that is.
Yeah.
That's how identifiable it is
Yeah.
just by 4 hat beats.
Yeah.
And what do you have a favorite off this record?
Oh man, Back in Black. Let's run down. Let's run down.
Yeah,
You
let's
got
run down,
Back in
yep.
Black opens the record. Oh no, sorry, it doesn't. Hell's Bells opens the record, right?
Yeah. if you're looking on the back of the jacket,
Yeah, the jacket is wrong.
it's wrong. That's right. So
Yeah,
you
that's
got
why
to
when I
pull
when I
out
saw the
the
back of the
vinyl.
jacket, I was like, wait, that is not right because
Nope.
Hell's Bells actually
Hell's
opens the
Bells.
record. Because Back in Black is like deep. It's like track 6 or something.
It's actually the first song on side 2.
Right, there you go.
Hell's Bells
so
opens, and that's a
so
killer too.
yeah, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill. Man, I love that song.
Me too.
What Do You Do for Money? It's a good
Yeah.
one. Given the Dog a Bone, I love. Let Me Put My Love Into You. Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long. Have a Drink on Me, Shake a Leg, Rock and Roll Noise Pollution. I would say for me, it's going to be between Have a Drink on Me and Giving the Dog a Bone. I'm gonna have to go with Have a Drink on Me. I love that line in the song. You know what it is? Tell me. What do you think it is?
No, I was thinking that was funny because I'll tell you in a minute. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. The line in the song for Have a Drink on Me where he says, forget the check, we'll get hell to pay. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's so great. It's like the lyrics. It's kind of funny because I don't think these guys are like Satanists at all.
Oh, gosh, no.
Right?
Oh, my God. How many acronyms do we have for, back in the day?
But their music, it talks a lot about,
it does.
The devil's this, I'm going to get
Satan
you, the devil's
get you
going to
and
get
all
you,
that.
Satan get
Yeah.
you, whatever.
Yeah,
And it's just, a lot of those kind of things in their songs, but I don't think for
at all.
these guys are like Satanists.
I never thought that, and I don't think that now.
But it's just, I love that line, man. I think it's so good.
I'd have to say Shoot to Thrill is my favorite.
That's a good one.
I just love that. I love that, and I'm with you on the other one, Have a Drink on Me. Yeah, I love that song, man. But Shoot to Thrill is my favorite song on this record. And and I have to also say, I love Hell's Bells.
It's so good.
And I like Back in Black.
I love Back in Black.
Because Shook Me All Night Long has been played so much over the years, and everything you go to, it's just not my. Yeah. I would be okay if I never heard it again.
If I skip a song on this record, it's that one, Shook Me All Night Long. It's the only one I would skip.
Me too. It's just because I've heard it so many times, more than anything else. Yep. I got to see. You told me an interesting thing yesterday that you had never seen this band live.
Man, I have had opportunities to go see them, and for one reason or another, I didn't go.
It's like me. I've never seen Eagles, and I've had opportunities.
It was the Money Talks tour, whatever tour that was.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was going, and he had a free ticket as well, and I wasn't able to go. And it's just one of those things where I love this band, and it's a bucket list of mine. I would love to see him. I know Brian Johnson, I believe, is like 72 now.
Yeah.
I think he's back to like where he can perform live now.
That's what I heard too.
And I
hope he does.
I've heard they're working on music.
I hope they do. And I hope they at least toured, even if it was.
If they tour and they don't come to town here,
we got to go.
I'll travel to see it. But
yeah, we'll go to somewhere.
I hate that I didn't go see them when I had the several opportunities that I did have.
Some friends of mine saw them with Bon Scott, and I didn't go. And I didn't. You know why I didn't go? Because we had an away baseball game.
There you go.
Same reason I didn't go to see the Eagles on a long run tour because I had a game. Yeah. So there's and I've never seen the Eagles, and I've always wanted to.
Same.
So I saw AC/DC on the Stiff Upper Lip tour. First time I've seen them.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I was on the floor close, and I just remember Brian. I thought he's so strong of a singer that it made my voice hurt.
Wow.
Just because he's so high and stuff.
And even watching him, I've watched a ton of live footage from them, and watching him sing, just the way he squints and the way he his mouth is real wide when he sings, and I'm like,
looks like he's hurting.
Looks like he's hurting, and
he's not.
Earlier, like his hearing, he's had some major issues, and it's not. I read it's not because of touring with AC/DC. He's also an avid race car junkie. Like he loves race cars, racing and stuff. And he had, I guess at one point he did not put in earplugs at a particular race that he was at, and it just killed his ears. It burst one of his eardrums or something.
That's
and
crazy,
so he's had a lot of hearing issues because of that. Not because he's sang with the loudest band in rock and roll.
It wasn't having to do with the voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him 2 years ago with Axl Rose. And I'm gonna tell you, I know people were like, oh, because at one point I had heard that Sebastian Bach was on cue to possibly do that tour. And at that point I thought there's no way Sebastian Bach could do that I just, as much as I like him, I just didn't see it. Then when they got Axel, I tickets to the show.
Now, did you have tickets before Axel was announced? Because Brian Johnson actually had to leave in the middle of the tour. There were only 10 U.S. dates left.
I went on this is what's weird. I went on the very first night of that tour with Axel.
Okay, so
the very opening night was in Greensboro.
Okay, the first night back with Axel. Okay, cool.
Right, that was the first night back, and it was in Greensboro.
When you bought your tickets, did you know it was Axel?
Yes.
Okay.
I did know it was Axel, and I remember thinking, how is this going to work? How is this going to be? Because I knew, but here was what was so cool. Angus comes on and starts his thing, and Axel's nowhere to be seen. But I'm up kind of high on the side so I can see the whole stage. And over in the corner, there he stands. Not one time during the whole night did Axel be Guns N' Roses Axel.
Yeah.
He was totally playing his role as a singer. And Angus was the show. Axel provided the vocals. He, of course, he walked the walkway and did all that, but he never did his little slither thing.
Yeah.
He never talked. He didn't talk during the songs. It was just, and he might have said a few things, but I just thought it was so classy that he knew his role was to sing and give those songs justice and let Angus do his thing and let the rest of the guys. And it was one of the greatest shows, man. It was so good. And Axl absolutely nailed it. After 2.5 hours of AC/DC songs, Axl hadn't lost a beat, man.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
So, but talking about these records, if we're going to put them up against each other, it's a little different than what we did with Hysteria and Slippery, because I like both of these records so much. But for me, if I had to put one over here and take one on the desert island, for me, Jimmy is going to take Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
That's my vote.
Man, it's so difficult.
Nothing against Back in Black.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're just both so fantastic. I really wish I could just say both of them.
Yes.
I wish I could say, hey, I want, Highway to Back in Black.
You're right.
Or whatever.
Or Back in Hell.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
I'll pass on that one maybe. No, I just, gosh, man, they're just so good. But I think if I go down and I have to evaluate it song by song, and go, what am I, if I'm going to listen to a record top to bottom, are there any skips? Do I skip on any of these?
Mm-hmm.
And, I definitely think that I would probably skip a track or two on Back in Black. And there's just nothing for me to skip on Highway to Hell. I mean, look, from a commercial success standpoint, Back in Black is by far a more successful record, commercially speaking.
That's right.
But I think for me and my personal taste, I do have to go with, I just think Bon Scott was at the absolute top of his game on Highway to Hell.
Yeah, I agree. And totally agree with that, man.
For that to be his swan song with AC/DC, and for him to go out and leave this as his legacy.
Wow.
I just don't think that he could have done anything differently or done anything better than what he did.
I agree. Totally.
It is one of the most perfect rock albums ever recorded.
That's it right there. You nailed it with that line right there. It is one of the most perfect rock records ever. So you're going with the same. We're agreeing now.
We did it back to back. We've agreed on our album.
Right.
We're gonna find some things we don't agree on soon.
But
right now, man, we're
Yeah,
locked in.
man.
You got to give credit to Mutt Lange. Like I said, he produced the 3 most commercially successful albums that AC/DC had ever done. He produced records 6, 7, and 8 in their long line of albums. And Man, I
Yes.
just it's such a good run for AC/DC. These are their two best albums in my opinion.
These are the two I would want in my collection,
They're
even
just
though
so
I have the rest of them too. Mostly,
yeah.
I you know, Highway to Hell is my favorite AC/DC.
Yeah, I have others. I have Dirty Deeds. I have For Those About to Rock.
Yeah, me too.
But man, I think if you're a rock fan and a vinyl collector, you have to have Highway to Hell and Back in Black collections. It's like it's almost a requirement, or else you can't call yourself a vinyl enthusiast.
That's right.
So
it's like you gotta have Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon if you're a vinyl collector. I mean, if you don't have it, like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah, man.
So, man, this was a good one, but again,
it was a lot of fun, man.
In this battle, man, I think Highway to Hell wins, man.
For us, it does, at least.
It sure does. It sure does.
Me and you. Follow us on Instagram, right?
Instagram and Facebook at The Sorta Cool Show. We are there hanging out. You can send us direct messages at both. We will respond. You can tell us how much you hate us for not picking the record that you love.
That's right. And that's cool with us.
It's totally cool with us, and we won't be offended by it at all. So go ahead and chew us out all you want. It'll be a lot of fun.
Say something back to you, but we won't be offended.
Well, man, we are going to be back next week. We have some really fun things on the docket to talk about, and we would love for you to join us. So follow us anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're everywhere. So come hang out with us, and we will see you next time.
See you, man.
Take care.